Jack Ryan is a retired CIA analyst, living with his wife Kathy and their daughter Sally, and works as a lecturer at the United States Naval Academy. He is invited to speak at the Royal Naval Academy in London and brings Kathy and Sally along. Mother and daughter are on their way to meet Jack after his presentation when at the same moment, a car pulls up with 4 terrorists belonging to a radical IRA faction. Their target is the British Minister of State for Ireland Lord Holmes, who is just leaving his residence nearby. Just as Jack is about to meet his family, the terrorists make their move at the same location and blow the engine to the minister's car. Jack gets Kathy and Sally to cover just as the men open fire on the minister's detail with high-powered rifles. The men are still unable to get access to the minister, so Jack sees his chance and tackles one of the gunmen. He grabs the man's gun and returns fire, killing 2 of the men and detaining 1 other. The other gunmen retreat, just as the cops come racing in with their hands to a gunfight. The detained man, Sean Miller, stares in shock at the sight of his dead younger brother before him and glares at Jack in anger. Though hit in the gunfight, Jack manages to survive and is rushed to a hospital. News soon breaks of the attempt on Lord Holmes, with Jack being hailed as a hero, and his file ends up in the hands of Vice Admiral James Greer of the CIA. Meanwhile, the British cops are trying to get information out of Sean about the whereabouts of his accomplices and how they knew about the minister's trip since it was unscheduled, but Sean refuses to speak. We then meet the radical IRA group leader Kevin O'Donnell, who is at home alone in his cabin, when IRA gunmen from the main faction pull up to his home armed. They plan to assassinate Kevin for his radical ways, but Kevin manages to ambush and kill them before making his escape. The man who sent the hitmen is messing around with a woman when she pulls a gun and shoots him dead. She then heads out where Kevin picks her up. At the trial for Sean, Jack meets Geoffrey Watkins, private secretary of Lord Holmes, and Lord Holmes himself, who is very grateful to Jack for saving his life, and informs him of his pending knighthood for his bravery. During the trial, Jack takes the stand and points out Sean as the attacker despite the defense's arguments. Sean, still fuming from the death of his brother, lounges at Jack, telling him that he got involved in something he shouldn't have, but Jack tries to play it off as nothing to Kathy. Jack and the family soon return to their home in the US, where Kathy breaks the news to Jack that she is pregnant. Meanwhile, Sean is being held in jail, but is so focused on avenging his brother's death, he stares non-stop at the picture of Jack. Soon Sean is to be moved to prison and is escorted in a convoy along with other decoy vans. The convoy comes to a stop at the bridge and suddenly comes under attack. Soon the other cars are wiped out and surrounded by Kevin and his men. They hold 1 guard hostage and force the officers to open the van, allowing them to free Sean, who then kills all the guards before he and Kevin make their escape. Jack is at home when he is visited by Admiral Greer and his man Marty, and Kathy knows that something isn't right and takes Sally away. Jack is told about Sean's escape, and James doubts that Sean could make his way to the US, but Jack isn't so sure. Privately, James wants Jack to come back to the agency to help them with Sean's capture. Jack tells Kathy about the escape, and he too thinks that the IRA would not be so brave as to come after him in America. He tells Kathy that he turned down James's request to rejoin the CIA, a life she is not willing to go back to again. Despite what James and Jack think, Kevin, Sean and their rogue IRA cell have taken refuge on board a floating vessel in the sea to avoid detection and are making their way to America to lay low. Kevin and his team are still focused on capturing Lord Holmes and torturing him until he releases every Irish prisoner. But Sean has his mind and heart set on revenge, something that not even Kevin can talk him out of, and he eventually relents. Lord Holmes, along with his private secretary Geoffrey and Sergeant Owens, are still trying to uncover how his itinerary was leaked, trying to find all possible suspects. Sergeant Owens suggests that Lord Holmes limit his travels for safety, but the minister refuses to allow terrorists to control his movements, much to the annoyance of Owens, who wants to catch the traitor as soon as possible. Jack is giving a lecture at the U.S. Marine Academy when he is presented with the Order of the Purple Target by Lieutenant Commander Robby Jackson, his longtime friend. Meanwhile, Sally is waiting to be picked up from school, but Kathy is running late. Watching Sally is Sean and another man armed with rifles and waiting for Kathy to show up. After a while, Kathy shows up and picks up Sally, and Sean follows her. Jack is leaving the Naval College compounds when he spots a man acting strange outside. His instincts kick in and he keeps a close eye on the man but continues on his way. He soon notices the same man in a black Jeep following him and manages to ambush the man. The two get into a short struggle before the man is shot by naval guards who notice the commotion. Jack demands to know where Sean is, but the dying man simply smiles before passing away. Jack remembers the Jeep that was also following him and jumps into his car to give chase, knowing that Kathy may also be in danger. He tries calling Kathy, but she is currently on a call with her workplace, not realizing that she is being followed. Jack finally gets in contact with Kathy, warning her to get off the highway as soon as possible. At that moment, Sean and his man pull up beside her car and open fire, causing Kathy to slam into a divider. Thinking she is dead, Sean makes his escape. Jack, who is also on the highway stuck in traffic, notices the smoke a distance off and has a bad feeling. Kathy and Sally is airlifted to the nearby hospital in critical condition. Jack arrives and learns that Kathy will recover fast, but Sally's life hangs in the balance. Kathy awakens and Jack breaks the news of Sally's condition, where the doctors had to remove her spleen. Jack stares at his daughter in her condition, consumed by anger, and is determined to avenge her. Commander Jackson comes by the hospital to comfort Jack, when he sees the leader of the main branch of the IRA, Patty O'Neill, denouncing the attack on Jack's family and swearing the IRA's innocence. As Jack is leaving the hospital, Patty tries to talk to Jack, but he storms out in anger without saying a word. Jack decides to go back on his word and heads over to the CIA to get his old job back. Jack is introduced to the team and begins working on tracking Kevin and his team down. In Northern Ireland, Sergeant Owens and his team pull up to an apartment on a tip, with a few IRA members inside preparing bombs. The team rush the room and Owens holds them at gunpoint while my dude in the back is using the Batman interrogation style. Beat them now so they answer no questions later. Jack and the other CIA analysts are going over the recent IRA killings, the farmhouse attack, the dead IRA top-ranking member in the hotel, and suspect that something is wrong within the IRA itself. Thinking back to the recent attempt on his life, Jack manages to remember the driver of the Jeep, who is actually a woman with red hair, and knows that if he finds her, then he can find Sean. Sean and his small team leave the US and arrive at a secret IRA training facility in Libya, where he learns that Kathy and Sally actually survived the attack and is not happy to hear this. Kathy is soon well enough to return home, where CIA agents are working on securing their home. That night, Jack gets a call from no other than Sean, mocking him about the attack on his family. Kathy overhears the convo and fears another attack, telling Jack to make sure he gets Sean and put an end to him. Jack finds Patty at his usual drinking spot. Jack demands to know where Kevin and Sean are, but Patty is reluctant to sell out his fellow countrymen, no matter what they did. Angry, Jack threatens to destroy Patty's reputation to stop his American funding efforts for his political party. Jack manages to figure out that Sean is possibly hiding in Libya based on the IRA's connections and recent activities, but cannot pinpoint a specific camp due to Kevin and his team knowing exactly when the CIA satellites pass overhead. Jack goes over all the images from the satellite and has his eye on a specific camp. He goes over the image of the camp where he is able to pick out a pair of tits from the satellite image and suspect that may be the pair of tits, the redhead that he is looking for. He shows the image to James, but without definitive proof that those pair of tits belong to a redhead. They urge him to continue looking. Jack takes a break to visit Sally in hospital to read her stories and watch over her. Jack is at the hospital's cafeteria when Patty shows up, and without a word he hands Jack a wrapped box before leaving. Jack opens the box to find files on the red-haired woman, who turns out to be an Englishwoman posing as a book dealer. The CIA passes the info over to the British, who track down the bookshop where the woman often visits. The owner of the shop notices a smoke coming from one of his outlets and calls over a man to fix it. But when the man starts working, he discovers the hidden camera. Realizing that the cops are onto him, the man grabs a few books before racing from the shop with the cops hot on his trail. The man runs into the busy railway station and manages to lose Owens. Lord Holmes and his team are finalizing the date for presenting Jack with his award, but since Sally and Kathy are recovering, Jack requests that Lord Holmes visit his home in America, to which he agrees. Kevin and his team somehow get information about Lord Holmes's sudden visit to the United States and are planning to take out his security team and grab him while he is there. Jack and the analysts are still going over the satellite images, having identified a few strange figures, but still cannot say for certain if they are looking at IRA members. The bookkeeper who escaped the store reveals himself to be a member of Kevin's IRA faction, having flown all the way to Libya to seek refuge and to join the army, but Kevin has Sean gun him down to tie up any loose ends. Working on Jack's deductions, the CIA sends in 2 attack helicopters and an SAS team into Libya to launch an assault on the suspected IRA hideout. The SAS team launch their attack on the compound and wipe out all the insurgents there while Jack and the CIA watch. James thinks it's all over, but Jack cannot shake the feeling that something isn't right. Sally soon is well enough to return home, and the family have Lord Holmes and Commander Jackson over for dinner that same night, where Lord Holmes plans to make the presentation. Outside, a storm seems to be brewing, but the CIA agents posted outside are keeping a close watch. Lord Holmes's assistant Jeffrey excuses himself to the bathroom, but while there he suddenly kills the CIA agent posted close by. Soon, the power to the house goes, and when Jack checks outside, he notices that a boathouse nearby still has power. Suspecting the worst, Jack tries to radio the CIA agents outside but is unaware that they are all already dead. Just then Jeffrey reappears from the basement, But trusting his instincts, Jack grabs him and drags him back to the basement where they find the dead CIA agent. Jack demands to know how many they are and the location of Sean, and when Jeffrey refuses, Jack shoots him and learns that there are possibly 5 or 6 men on their way. Jack rushes upstairs, sending Lord Holmes to the basement and securing Kathy and Sally, just as heavily armed men break into the dark house. Kathy manages to grab Jack's shotgun but is unable to find any shells just as an armed attacker comes upstairs to check. Determined to protect Sally, Kathy lay-waits the attacker and manages to knock him out just before Jack gets back to her. He gets Sally into the attic and tries getting Kathy up, but she drops her flashlight, alerting the attackers. Sean hears the commotion and opens fire in the attic, but Jack helps his family outside and to the basement door. Sean sees them, and despite Kevin's warning that Lord Holmes is their target, Sean goes after Jack and his family. Inside the basement, Jack learns from Jeffrey that Kevin and his men have boats tied up by the docks to make their escape. Just then 2 attackers enter the basement wearing night vision, but Jack and the commander manage to kill the men. Sean opens fire on them through the walls, but Jack and everyone else have already escaped the attic and are heading to the woods. The last 3 attackers, Sean, Kevin and the red-haired woman, manage to escape the locked basement, only to see one of their boats taking off from the dock. Thinking that Holmes is on the boat, the 3 attackers give chase, unaware that only Jack is on the boat and the others are safe. The 3 chase down the boat when they realize that Jack is alone. Kevin wants them to turn around, but Sean, now consumed by revenge, suddenly opens fire, killing both Kevin and the red-haired woman, before turning his gun towards Jack's boat. The bullets manage to hit Jack's engine, setting it ablaze, but Jack stays on course. Eventually Sean runs out of bullets and launches himself onto Jack's boat, and the 2 begin to struggle. Sean tries attacking with the boat's anchor and manages to gain the upper hand for a while, but Jack overpowers him, causing him to fall onto the anchor. Realizing the boat is heading directly for an island, Jack escapes the boat, which explodes in a ball of fire, killing Sean. An FBI team, alerted to the attack, finds Jack floating in the ocean, and he is reunited with his family. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you can watch more movies like this. Thanks for watching.